I'm near the Saatchi Gallery, near the Duke of York Square, and it's lovely and summery in June. June is bursting out all over, and I'm just going to investigate our mental health journey, how we navigate our mind, how we are able to be present, be at ease, and become the master of our mind. Because the wonderful, wonderful thing about being human is that we can completely transform our life by our attitude, by changing our attitude, by our perspective, by how we think, and also how we feel. Our emotional body and our mental body, very powerful, the energy, and often what can happen is the feelings, the emotional feelings, can get caught up with the mental narrative and create a psychological drama that we get caught into a loop, and we believe that to be us, we believe it to be true, and sometimes lose the way of how to navigate the mind and navigate therefore our health, both physically, emotionally, mentally, and therefore spiritually. And so the awareness is the first key, to be aware that there is a journey towards becoming the master of our mind, and therefore also the master of our body, or the master of our body and the mind. They go hand in hand really, because a lot of how we behave with our body, the decisions we make around how we look after it and what we do with it, are of course coming from a mental program or a mental decision. And the difficulty is that often they are programs. They're often just scripts and programs that we are not aware of. We aren't aware they're programs or scripts anyway, because often they have arisen from influences in our childhood, influences from our family, from society, from all manner of places everywhere we are, and they can be very deeply embedded so that we believe they are who we are. And this is what causes a lot of distress in us, because we start to believe we are our mind and its bundle of thoughts and its continual chatter. And often for many people, the mind is completely off on its own tangent. It's in a dialogue or a monologue or a loop the loop, and it's completely chatting on, and people believe that's who they are, the mind, and all the feelings and the psychological dramas, as I was saying, are in a loop, and that becomes the person's reality and who they believe themselves to be. Whereas ultimately, if we start to question that and recognize that the more we are able to anchor ourselves in the present, so often the breath is a very, very useful way to bring us into presence. So the breath can anchor the mind. So getting into a practice of using the breath where we can breathe deeply into the stomach, the ujjayi breath in yoga that brings us deeply into the stomach, and breathing out all of the tension and staying connected to the breath does allow the mind to anchor. So that can be a very useful practice, and just to do that throughout the day, bring ourselves back to presence with a deep breath into the tummy, then breathe out all the tension, breathing deep into the tummy, and breathe out all the tension. That can just bring the mind, even in one breath, back to presence, and then awareness, and you can connect to, where am I holding tension in my body, what's going on with my thoughts, what am I feeling, and start to become aware. And with that awareness, you can start to be more mindful of what you're thinking, and recognize that you are the person who can make the changes. You can change what you think. Thought has power. Thought is energy, and it's hugely creative, and the mind's an incredible tool, and its job is to think. So we don't want it not to think, but we need to not know we're not those thoughts, and that we can, if they're just randomly doing it on their own, then we're not the master. So part of the practice can be to start to watch that going on before we get more and more able to master what we're thinking and know that we can change what we're thinking, because a lot of distress comes through the storying, and the stories about situations which aren't always true. We can have a story about how we believe somebody's looked at us or something people have done to us, and of course ultimately the true freedom is recognizing that the more we're empowered and the more we are able to be here and now, we don't actually know what's going on. And even if somebody has been unkind to us or directly offended us or been rude or horrible, ultimately the more you are aware, the more you know that even that is not actually personal. That is something to do with their journey and what's going on within them. And even though there may be something that needs addressing in that particular relationship or that particular situation, the first thing is to become present and be able to say, I am where I am, it's okay, I am who I am, it's enough. That can be a very powerful mantra. I've taught that to so many people because it just brings us back and it stops the storying. Because the main thing with navigating our mental health and navigating our mind is to start to at least have something else for it to do, so that you may not know how to change your perspective, you may not know how to change your attitude, but if instead of the habitual thoughts you come back to, I am where I am, it's okay, I am where I am, it's okay, I am who I am, it's enough. Those two, come back to that. Then that's a starting point for being able to be more mindful of what you think, because thoughts are creative and you can start to look at things from a different perspective. So you may be looking at a situation at work or in your family or in any part of life and have an attitude to it, and have maybe a negative attitude to it, and maybe there's a view that you're sure is the truth, and you can start to question it and recognize that when we're pinned tightly to our opinions and our beliefs, then we believe we are our opinions and our beliefs, so we believe we are our mind. And ultimately, the more we are challenging that and coming back again to the breath, it's very useful to come back to the breath and a space, and we can get to be more questioning, and we get more able to go, well, is there another position? Is there another perspective? Can I look at it a different way? And it can be transformative just to change how we are with simple things like the weather. If it's a rainy day, when it's a day where you're going to do something and it's raining instead, to have a different way to approach it, just to go, okay, we'll make a different plan, or we'll do it in the rain anyway, we'll have fun anyway. This will be memorable because it's pouring with rain, and just the attitude of which we go into things completely transforms things. It transforms also the people we're with. If you're with someone who's upbeat and they go, okay, let's have fun here, whether it's the car's broken down and you have to wait for the people to come and help you, you can have an opportunity to chat together, or if you're alone, an opportunity to just sit and be reflective, or to read a book or listen to something, and then have a relationship with the person who comes to mend your car. Have a perspective. We change our lives by changing our attitude, and therefore be mindful of what attitude you have in any given moment, and see whether it's possible to shift it, and see what happens if you do shift it. Because when we actually experiment with this and just play with, well, where did I first get that thought? Because some of these thoughts are very deeply embedded from family beliefs, and we're staying very loyal to a family story, or they come from our culture, or they come from our school, come from where we grew up. Where did I first get that belief? Is it true? Is it still true for me? just get curious about why you're thinking as you are, and whether it's resonant for you, and also whether it's helping you in your life. Is it making you joyous, or is it creating an unhappiness? And then combined with the emotional body and what you're feeling, because that's very powerful. The feelings and the thoughts together, they are transformative, or they'll bring you down into the drama. So I think that, in summary, the first port of call is to recognise that we change our lives by how we think, that we're responsible for our body and our mind and our health in that. And sometimes we need support with both. We need to seek people to help us with these processes, but we're the ones who ultimately are responsible for our mental, emotional, physical health, and that we can transform our lives by how we think, how we feel, and that it's a practice and a process, and it takes commitment, it takes discipline, and as I said, it sometimes takes support with whether we seek a professional out, whether we want to read books, whether watch videos like this one, and just recognise that we can have the best life by the way we think and by being present. The coming back to presence is vital, because in that space there's all that possibility. So thank you on this lovely sunny day in London, and I look forward to seeing you next time.